Rain tapped gently against the large glass windows of the Willow Garden Café, a small, cozy place tucked between towering office buildings in the heart of the city. Inside, the hum of quiet conversations and the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air. It was a warm refuge from the gray, damp streets outside. At the corner table by the window, a girl sat alone, her wheelchair slightly angled toward the view. A small birthday cake, untouched, rested on the table in front of her, with a single candle that had long since burned out. She was turning 17 today, but there was no laughter, no friends, no phone buzzing with birthday wishes. Only the quiet company of the rain and the faraway sound of plates clinking. Her name was Amelia Grayson, daughter of Richard Grayson, a man whose name was printed on skyscrapers, whose net worth was the subject of business magazines, and whose presence commanded entire boardrooms. But wealth didn't fill the silence in her life. Ever since the accident that had taken her ability to walk, Amelia had drifted into a world where people either pitied her or avoided her. Even her father, busy and broken in his own ways, had been more absent than present. At another table, a man in his early 30s was helping his little boy finish a cup of hot chocolate. His clothes weren't fancy, his hands were rough from labor, and his shoes looked like they'd weathered more than a few years of wear. His name was Daniel Hayes, a single father who worked long shifts at a repair shop, doing whatever he could to keep food on the table and his son, Oliver, in school. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed away, but Daniel had learned to smile through exhaustion because Oliver needed to believe the world was still good. As Oliver sipped his drink, his eyes wandered around the cafe and landed on Amelia. She was trying to light the candle again, perhaps to make a wish, but her fingers trembled and the lighter refused to spark. Oliver nudged his dad and whispered, "Dad, she's all alone. Can we?" Daniel glanced over. Something in the way Amelia stared at the candle, not with excitement, but with a quiet kind of defeat, stirred something deep in him. He'd seen that look before, in his own reflection during the hardest days. He stood, picked up Oliver's half-eaten cookie, and walked over. "Mind if we join you?" Daniel asked softly. Amelia blinked, surprised. I'm fine, thank you." Daniel smiled. "Maybe, but birthdays aren't meant to be spent alone. My son insists that this cookie is magic, and it should probably be eaten by someone special." Oliver grinned and set the cookie in front of her. "It makes wishes come true. You have to take a bite." Amelia hesitated, then gave a small smile and broke off a piece. "Thank you. I'm Amelia. Daniel. And this is Oliver." The three of them sat together, and slowly, the quiet air around Amelia began to warm. They lit the candle, this time with Daniel's lighter, and Oliver sang an enthusiastic, if slightly off-key, "Happy Birthday." Amelia laughed for the first time in months. When she blew out the candle, Daniel noticed a tear at the corner of her eye. "What did you wish for?" he asked. She shook her head. "If I tell you, it won't come true." The afternoon turned into evening as they talked. Oliver told silly stories from school, Daniel shared embarrassing moments from his work, and Amelia found herself forgetting, for a little while, the heavy ache in her chest. She learned that Daniel was raising Oliver alone, that money was tight, but their little apartment was always full of love. And Daniel learned that Amelia was lonely, not because she didn't have people around her, but because so few really saw her. When they parted, Daniel handed her a small, folded napkin. "Oliver drew you something," he said. Inside was a crayon sketch of Amelia smiling, with a big sun overhead. Beneath it, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "You are not alone." That night, Amelia placed the napkin beside her bed. Days passed, and Amelia found herself thinking about the father and son. On impulse, she visited the repair shop where Daniel worked. She saw him under a car, covered in grease, humming quietly to himself. Oliver was sitting at a small desk in the corner, working on homework. They welcomed her like an old friend. It became a habit, Amelia stopping by after school, Oliver telling her about his day, Daniel offering her tea in a chipped mug. She began to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time, belonging. But not everyone approved. When her father found out, he was furious. "You're the daughter of Richard Grayson," he told her sharply. "You can't spend your time with people who—" He stopped himself before finishing the sentence, but Amelia heard it anyway. People who weren't on their level. That night, she told Daniel she might not be able to visit anymore. Daniel didn't pressure her. He just said, "You have to do what's right for you. But for what it's worth, you've brought a lot of light into Oliver's life. And mine." The next week, Amelia's father threw a grand party for her, a ballroom full of expensive decorations, gourmet food, and people she barely knew. Music played, champagne glasses clinked, and smiles were polite but empty. Amelia sat in her wheelchair, scanning the crowd, wishing for something real. And then, near the back, she saw them. Daniel in a borrowed suit that didn't quite fit, Oliver clutching a small box wrapped in plain brown paper. Amelia's heart leapt. She wheeled toward them, her smile breaking through the mask she'd worn all evening. Oliver handed her the box. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet, each link shaped like a small sun. "So you never forget that you're not alone," he said. Tears welled in her eyes. "You came." Daniel smiled. "We wouldn't miss your real birthday party." That night, surrounded by hundreds of strangers, Amelia realized the only gifts that mattered were the ones given with love. In the months that followed, her father began to notice something changing in her. She laughed more. She spoke with confidence. And eventually, he agreed to meet Daniel. Not as a billionaire meeting a mechanic, but as a father meeting the man who had reminded his daughter how to live again. Kindness had stitched together 3 lives from different worlds, proving that sometimes the simplest gesture, sitting down at someone's lonely table, can change everything. And every year after that, Amelia, Daniel, and Oliver met at the same café on her birthday. The candle was always lit, the cookie always shared, and the wish always the same, that they'd never lose the kind of friendship that made the world feel a little less lonely.